What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Sexton Accountability. Today I'm going to talk about a experience that I had on Molly, MDMA. So if you don't want to hear about this, don't watch it, okay? Don't watch it. But as individuals, we are responsible for our own triggers. We have to address the things that brings up in ourselves, okay? So just there's a little gem that I'll drop right there. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be considerate of what we say and how we affect others, but we got to take responsibility. All right, so let's go. Anyways, so the first time that I did Molly, I was 18 years old. I waited a long time. For some reason, I was hesitant because usually I saw a lot of pressed X pills or rolls, and they were just sketchy. The sketchy looking, I was like, I don't know about this. Like, what's in this? You know what I mean? And you could say the same thing about some crystalline powder or, whatever form of Molly you get. For me, it was usually a crystalline powder or some sort of crystallized substance. Of course, I also ran into what would be called sassafras, which was more like a dark brown resin. Anyways, so the first time I did it, I was 18. I lived on my own. I lived in my own apartment. And basically someone who I bought Xans from all the time, a connect, an acquaintance, brought some over and did the old want a free sample trick. You know what I mean? So gave me some. And immediately I was like, oh, wow. I'm someone who's suffered from depression. And I was really very depressed during this time. So when I took it, I was like, oh, wow, I don't feel so depressed anymore. And this was dangerous. So the funny thing about this too is during this time I was also introduced to like EDM. This was when like dubstep was very prevalent, which is, in my opinion, one of the worst forms of music. But anyways, there's some good EDM out there, and there's some stuff that I already really messed with. Like I grew up listening to like Justice and like Rat-a-tat and stuff like that. And so I really, I listened to that, but I really learned about a whole different genre of EDM. And so I did the stereotypical thing. Like, I did Molly and I listened to EDM. I drank a lot of water, orange juice, and really like it was very, very unhealthy for me. Like it gave me this really strong false sense of happiness. And that was just extremely unhealthy. It put me in a position to where I based happiness off that. And then if you do certain adult activities, if you have intimate relations physically with another human being while under the influence of Molly, it can fuck that up if you're not on it afterwards. Like if you do that consistently, then it can. So let's get back to the story though. Anyways, so I had that night. I stayed up all night long, and I even ended up trading. I had a G-Shock. I traded a G-Shock, a Versace backpack, like a over-the-shoulder bag, and a Dolce & Gabbana belt buckle for the rest that this dude had. And so I didn't even have money at that point, and I traded all these things, and he gave me a very significant amount. So I stayed up all night long, and then guess where I went? To my grandma's house. RIP to my grandma. She is, she was an old hippie. That's where I would go to kind of regroup. But yeah, I went out to my grandma's house and I'm fucking rolling, dude, because I kept redosing. And so I went out there super happy. Of course, I mentioned, I would always say what I was doing. That was just how I was when I was actively using. There were certain things I would withhold, like if I smoked some H or some shit like that, or if I smoked meth, which I did. Not very often, but I definitely did it. I'm not gonna lie. So I would withhold that kind of stuff, but I was really, really open and honest about the other things that were a little bit less stigmatized, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm out there, I'm fucking rolling. I'm with my grandma. We're chilling, smoking mad weed, because that's like basically what I would do I would just go over there and we would smoke, dude, because she had she had such a high tolerance, dude. Like she was the only person that I knew that could keep up with me, really. And so, you know what I mean? She was always down. Like she loved J's, so we would, smoke J's and stuff and just chill out, drink a lot of Dr. Pepper. That's the issue there, is that I drank too much Dr. Pepper and I wasn't drinking enough water. So I started to get dehydrated. Wasn't really hungry. I think I ended up eating some chocolate chip cookies. Anyways, so I ended up staying up that night as well. So this is 2 nights now that I am literally just redosing. And in hindsight, it was good that I wasn't just taking mass amounts all at once, but I kept redosing over and over again. And so this lasted about, like I said, 2 days. On day 2, I woke up, got into an argument with my grandma, with my grandpa. They basically, at the time, my grandpa, who's really my step grandpa, he went off and called me worthless and all this shit. And they both were just extremely hurtful towards me. I was also very hurtful. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? But to be completely honest, this was a very traumatic event in my life because for one, I was coming down, and then the other side to it was that my literal grandparents just called me a piece of shit, called me worthless, and it was rough. It was a rough experience to have. And I can take accountability and say that, yeah, I was, really sketchy and shitty during that time, but by no means was I worthless. I was still a living being with feelings, and it was rough, to have your own grandparents be like, you're a piece of shit, you're worthless, get the fuck out of here. And then I retaliated by saying oh yeah, well, you're growing a bunch of weed, so I'm gonna fucking snitch on you, which is something I would never do in a million years, but I knew that would be the thing that I could say to jab at them, you know what I mean? And so that's what I did. I said that. Like I said, it's not something that I would ever do, but they believed me nonetheless. So that was really shitty on my part. But yeah, man, I mean, the point of this is for me to just I will share any and all experiences in my life, because I found that dude, people don't want to share this stuff. It makes them look bad. It makes them it just sounds embarrassing. It sounds embarrassing. Okay. So I just wanted to really start with oh, this is a story about Molly, and then really just twist it into, I mean, not really twist it, but just kind of show the contrast of going from extreme euphoria and a false sense of happiness to a couple days later, literally having your grandparents say that you're a worthless piece of shit. You know what I mean? And so it's very interesting. It's interesting to look back on all of my experiences with substances. And the initial effect was always somewhat positive, but it was always the consequences were terrible. And then I just got tired of those consequences. But to be honest, that wasn't enough to stop me. That was not enough to stop me. That did not stop me. So I had to have an intervention and go to fucking treatment. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, look, the point of this story is just to tell you the real, what I really want to portray with this is that if you have serious depression, do not self-medicate with Molly. I'm sorry, do not self-medicate with Molly. I think it's one of the most harmful things you can do. It, like I said, it gives you a false sense of happiness. It can really fuck shit up, and it really messes with your neurotransmitters and throws it all out of whack. I went into a long-term depressive episode after this. It, of course, was in conjunction with the, fight that I had with my grandparents. But dude, I'm just saying, man, I feel like the way that we talk about Molly is a little bit too nonchalant. There's people that literally overdose on Molly. And then when it comes to nowadays, you can take Molly and overdose on fentanyl or, ISO or carfentanil or all these different analogs. So it's not inherently safe. It isn't. You need to test your substances. If you're going to use any powder or pill or resin or tar, which can be tricky, but you need to test everything. You need to test everything, and not only test to figure out that it is what it's supposed to be, but test to make sure that there's nothing in it. So look, that's my honest opinion. If you need free fentanyl test strips or analog opiate test strips, go to endoverdose.net. And if you're interested in my services as an accountability consultant or coach, go to sextonaccountability.com. So that's it for today, y'all. Much love. Be easy and be careful out there. All right.